Hello everyone, I'm going to give you an insight into my journey and Telefónica's through understanding and developing the workplace, putting it on a sustainable footing for the future. I'll start with a bit about me because it's relevant. I had no interest in property when I was younger. My dad was a partner at Hampton's pre-Lambert Smith days and did try to tempt me into the industry, but like many a teenager, I fancied doing my own thing. I had an interest in technology but was more attracted to writing, so my first degree was in English. After university, a couple of years in mobile phone retail gave me an understanding of the customer, as well as the difficulties of squaring people and process. I then moved into cell site acquisition, familiarizing myself with the London skyline for 18 months. I've been with Telefónica since November 2001, when we were still BT Cellnet. You probably know us as O2. 7 years in network rollout gave me an in-depth knowledge of what we called the engine under the bonnet. There were seemingly insurmountable annual targets, which we regularly hit, and a great team bond. Change came quickly, or as our COO put it, the only constant is the pace of change. During this period, I also obtained a master's degree in commercial property law by distance learning in my spare time. And we'd been given the tools to work remotely by then, and I started to do so occasionally. Shortly after taking over the National Network Estates Manager role in 2008, with responsibility for 13,000 sites, I was on the team negotiating the network share with Vodafone. I then joined what became the Cornerstone project as one of the original team of 10. We were building an entire methodology from scratch, which was fun. What I learned from this period is that it's all about people, and that if we stand still, mentally speaking, we quickly go stale and hinder progress. And that's where I realized my natural tendency to challenge the status quo was useful. Picking up my mainstream commercial property remits in 2009, I was a bit taken aback by what I saw. I described UK commercial real estate as ossified. Fees were higher, detail was lower, delivery slower, and the end-to-end joint ownership of projects just wasn't there. Neither was the customer. Although we're a large multinational company, property is managed at the operating business level. Cornerstone now manages a combined total of over 20,000 cell sites, or what the general public call masts. And in Telefónica UK, we have around 440 O2 retail stores, which are roughly half owned and half franchised, and 26 offices, switch sites, data centers, and warehouses. These corporate sites, as we know them, have a combined footprint of over 60,000 square meters. 8 are standalone offices, of which 4 are main buildings. The rest are technical sites with ancillary office areas, anything from 1 to 200 desks. Many of these go back to the Cellnet days in some form, but even these have been through big changes. The portfolio is a mixture of leases, of both separate and multi-let buildings, and a few freeholds. I now handle the whole life cycle of offices, from acquisition through estates management, space, and some facilities management through to disposal. I also support Telefónica Group in the UK, Wira, which is our business accelerator, giffgaff, and Tesco Mobile. Last but not least, I manage the property side of the Capita customer service outsource. This deal was a huge change for us back in 2013. And I was brought in to negotiate the transfer of the 4 contact centres, and have since reduced our retained sublet space in stages whilst delivering new activity-based working environments. Over the last decade, we've continually adapted our office estate to align with business strategy, and there have been targeted acquisitions in central London. For example, Telefónica Digital, just off Piccadilly Circus, O2 Media, O2 Wi-Fi, Weave, and Wira. However, overall, during this period, we have achieved a 40% reduction in our corporate building footprint. And remember, corporate in this instance refers to offices and technical sites. This wouldn't have been possible without flexible working. We look after our people as well as we look after our customers. Our places are great places to work, As much of the design of them, credit must also go to the facilities teams, particularly ISS, which we have a long-running Total FM partnership with. Together, we have achieved the ISO 44001 accreditation for collaboration. When COVID-19 struck, we were ready to work from home en masse. And those of you with long memories may recall we did a similar exercise in preparation for the 2012 Olympics in our HQ in Slough. Since then, our return to the office has been carefully managed in step with government guidance, focusing on those with the greatest need. Our offices are open, but the advice remains to work from home if you can and to host meetings remotely. As a result, daily use is still a small fraction of the norm. Changing a large and varied estate from conventional to agile space isn't simple, and I just wanted to share with you some of the hurdles we have faced during this time. I'll start with finance. It's hard to break the old cycle of invest and depreciate, but we use other business initiatives to support our proposals, and timing is key. Never underestimate the value of smaller changes. Even a single new piece of furniture in the right place can have a big impact on how the space works overall. Existing building design and furniture. Some of our older sites weren't chosen with new ways of working in mind, and adapting these can be tricky. My advice is work with the space rather than force it. Working in a live space. It's expensive and disruptive to refurbish a live environment. Critical support functions can also be impacted. Developing a strong rapport with a group of team champions will help you put a viable change and moves plan together. Legacy behaviours. Well-established work habits are difficult to alter, but contrary to popular perception, it's more about regular change than age. Where you come across this with teams and individuals, vary your engagement approach and give people time to say their piece. Personalisation, always a favourite with anyone who works in space management. People like to leave things out and they like to pin things up. But unfortunately, this is a real barrier to desk sharing. Nobody wants to sit at somebody else's desk looking at their kids all day. Make sure you cater for personal storage, of course, but keep space clear. Cupboards and filing. In any change, push hard to clear these out. It may sound petty, but scan, shred, and archive wherever you can. Make it fun, make it a challenge that all the teams can buy into, and show how it will free up the space and make room for other improvements. Single-minded skeptics. You will have some of these, and they're a risk to the project, but also potentially a positive. The biggest asset is the skeptic who's been won over to change. Persist. Desk wars or tribalism. In a big organization, the large players have great sway, and tension can easily build up between teams where there's perceived unfairness. Don't rush into an easy compromise which opens up other disputes. Meeting culture, both physical and virtual. Even back in my network days, long conference calls were the norm. Long virtual meetings make desk area acoustics a challenge and stop people moving. Solutions such as Microsoft Teams rooms, pods, booths, and phone boxes with connectivity can help. We've also experimented with acoustic ceiling rafts and a range of headsets to improve desk working. Communication. We know what we want to say about a change and when, but this doesn't always align with what's happening in the wider business. Push your essential points, but accept that you aren't the only show in town. Pet projects, sudden and all-consuming with senior sponsorship. These can derail any program. Pick your battles, but stick to your principles. Organizational change, or as I call it, it's never fixed. A new layout might work for a while, but then team structures change or new leaders join the business. Expect to revisit and re-educate. I recommend building a common rulebook and sticking to it, but keep it simple and leave room to flex to suit local circumstances. We're now rolling out ground rules for each site with common policies. Sustainability. Back in 2009, our Slough HQ campus was installed with solar panels and rainwater harvesting, but it now has waterless urinals and a self-contained cycle hub too. Over the last few years, we've been rolling out LED lighting across the estate at scale. In the buildings we manage, waste is separated and none of it goes to landfill. Almost all single-use plastics have been replaced by vegware and reusable cups, and our electricity is purchased from renewable sources on the open wholesale market. With fit-outs, we use flexible multi-purpose furniture wherever possible, avoiding fixed alterations such as partitioning with all the associated M&E works. Desk sizes have been standardized, and we store locally and reuse where we can. A good example of this is our 2018 and 2019 refurbishments in our two northern office hubs, Leeds and Prestonbrook, where 1,300 existing desk chairs were repaired and deep cleaned to extend their working life. Movable acoustic rooms, freestanding partitions, meeting booths, project tables, and phone boxes were also installed to get the very best out of the space, but keep it flexible and keep it future-proof. This all sounds great, of course, but the carbon impact of offices remains large, especially when we include personal travel. So we keep trying all angles, initiatives such as department days, shared shuttle buses, walking and cycling, lift share, and park and ride schemes. We work hard to build relationships with all key stakeholders, landlords, neighbours, and local authorities. Ultimately, getting the right balance of working from offices, home, and third-party space is our aim. Like many firms, we have people based all over the country, so we must address personal travel habits. We do this by supporting them, providing the options and equipment to work in the best setting for the task in hand. And as an aside, O2 is one of the key partners in the domestic smart metering program run by the government. Dangerous space myths. A technical solution, sensors, booking systems, or whatever, will fix all the space issues once and for all. We can then just focus on more strategic matters. I'm afraid not. This might sound odd coming from a technology company, but it's all about knowing what to deploy, where and when. In sales terms, too many providers are offering the modern equivalent of the 1980s graphic equalizer, features, not benefits. As well-established users of flexible working, or hybrid as some now call it, we understand what the pitfalls are. Next, desks aren't needed anymore. People will just float around to suit the task in hand or work from home whenever they need to complete long insular tasks. Now, I'm a big advocate of flexible working, and those of you who've come across me on LinkedIn will know I regularly challenge lazy assumptions. The same applies here. A lot of what we all do on a daily basis is computer-based, and that needs suitable space. For some, for example, young people flat sharing, home won't suit, and therefore I do believe we need to retain a limited number of desks. We just need to find out ways of using them better. And of course, desks don't always have to be in our own buildings. All office users have the same requirements? No. Think of DSE requirements. That could be special chairs, that could be sit-stand desks, technical roles, people on long conference and Teams calls all day. Don't assume everyone will just be happy with a power socket and a laptop. Allow for the introvert as well as the extrovert. It's only a desk. Making a big change after a long period can be a bit like walking through a grieving process. So never underestimate the challenge, particularly when you're approaching a traditional desk environment and try to move to a shared desk basis. Demand will naturally spread out across the week to match supply, or what I call the midweek mountain. Clearly, this doesn't happen. What we've found instead over many years is that the peak just gets sharper. Try finding a parking space at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday, for example. We'll all just get along. I mean, we'll work for the same company, don't we? Networking, listening, and support is essential, as are clear ground rules. The rules need to be a common thread for consistency, but specifics around building type, location, and function do need to be considered. This will oil the wheels and make sure that teams can get along. So to reiterate, whilst the right policies, systems and technology can help, it's all about the people. Finally, companies, some say, will keep the same amount of space or more post-COVID. I call this the dinosaur defense. In my view, it won't protect vested interests from the four-pronged pincer of 1, pre-COVID desk utilization of an average of 50% for a typical organization, including signs of life. 2, 6 months and more of mass working from home evidence. 3, the immediate financial pressures within companies. And 4, the economic downturn. For us, we're still already a long way along our flexible or hybrid working journey, but even so, we've still got more to do. So to conclude, thanks for listening today. I hope you found it useful. The silver lining of the current pandemic has been greater networking and knowledge sharing. Dare I say there's been a lot of collaboration and innovation, despite the restrictions of face-to-face working. A lot of the new interactions I've had since March have informed the points I've raised today. I look forward to meeting many of you either online or face-to-face in the future and seeing where our combined energies can take us in tackling these common problems. Stay positive and keep your mind open. This is a great opportunity for change.